Hi, it's your Sister Unity. I wanted to start talking about a topic that can go very deep and very long, but all of my videos that I've made that are about self-help or spirituality or happiness and how to cultivate that yourself really do boil down to one particular element that I haven't explicitly talked about yet, and that is the mind. We all carry around one of the universe's most sophisticated, subtle, and powerful machines or instruments. It's our mind. And our mind in Hinduist philosophy and in the practice of yoga, they look at the mind as composed of different parts, and there are different functions that have different experiences. There's the intellect, which is sort of intellectual knowledge, data, logistics, logic. Um, and it's great and it's profound, but it only goes so far. It only informs so far. And then there's the mind, there's the awareness itself, and that is the raw material, the awareness that comes from the inner self, that comes from your deepest place, your own inner light, the light that is your soul, that is the soul of all things and all places, all people. And that awareness works with the intellect in our everyday things like work, doing our taxes, watching television and thinking about what we're watching, politics, etc. So what does this have to do with happiness and with being centered and grounded in yourself? It's that the mind is made to think, and it always does. You may have conceived of meditation as instructions like empty your mind, stop your mind, silence your mind. Like, go ahead and try that right now. Have your mind not think of anything, including not thinking about anything. Especially if you've got your eyes open or your ears open and I'm talking, like, it can't be done. Your mind is made to think, so that's what it does. So what do? This is the whole question that so many spiritual paths, including Hinduism and yoga, address. You know, if you're a mom, you'll know this, or a dad, when your baby, like, opens the kitchen cabinet under the sink and gets the Drano, or, gets into the kitchen drawers where the knives are, like, it's alarming. And whatever they have in their hand that's dangerous, you take it out of their hand. And then your child cries, and what do? Well, most parents who are experienced and savvy, they know that when you take the thing out of the child's hand, you give them a toy, or you give her a binky, a pacifier. You replace the dangerous thing with something positive. And the mind is pretty much the same, because it's made to think, it's going to think. So if you are not satisfied or experiencing discomfort with what the mind is holding, with where the mind is going, switch it out. It is that easy. Sometimes, though, the deeper things, the deeper places the mind goes, um, the repeating patterns, in psychology they call it the tape that plays in your head, that takes some work, professional counseling, practice, meditation comes in handy there, etc. But ultimately it's the same exercise. You're learning to control, to master, to guide, to be the driver of your mind. So try working with your mind. If you are in a state that you would like to change, focus your awareness, focus your mind on something beneficial, uplifting, something that turns you within. Change the channel. I remember one meditation teacher was quoted as saying something along these lines, that if you're depressed and your mind just keeps going down that road or spinning its wheels, meditate to distract it, to give it something good. If you can't meditate, chant. If you can't chant, pray. If you can't pray, talk to yourself. If you can't do that, read People magazine, watch TV, cook. Do something, distract your mind by changing the channel. Make it focus on something that's not going down that road, something that is at least constructive or beneficial or entertaining. That'll end up taking you up, or at least keeping you from going down that road downward. Meditation is a longer practice, but it is a good way to clean your mind. And this is another way that we can wrestle with our mind and change what it does. Practice over time of silence, stillness, detaching from the senses, getting all this input from the world, can refresh your mind. It may not stop it cold unless you practice for a long time, but it will calm it down, slow its pace, and give it something beneficial. If you turn your attention of your mind in towards what's going on in your heart, or the sensation of your own awareness, the feeling of just being here, those things can be really constructive and refreshing for your mind. But that's not all that easy necessarily, especially when you're first trying it. So it takes practice, and that's why yogis always say, practice. Do it consistently over time, whether it's every day or every week or whatever it is. If you sit and just be quiet, or use a mantra, or meditate, or just write, or stare at a candle flame, or whatever you do, giving your mind one thing to focus on helps it stop running around and running around. It gets a little boring and repetitive, but that's on purpose. You're resting your mind. Just like when you go to sleep at night, your heartbeat slows down. Your heart rate of beating slows down. So your heart can rest because it's been working all day long. So too, when you meditate or just sit quietly or journal or draw, a lot of art is good for this. You focus on one thing, and focusing on one thing instead of that allows the spinning top of your mind to slow down. There are conditions. People have conditions like being bipolar, um, um, being on the spectrum of various spectrums, um, you know, clinically diagnosed depression, other, schizophrenia, other sort of physiological health conditions that make it difficult to work with the mind, ADHD, to make it difficult to work with the mind in this way. You can try it and see if it helps those conditions, if you have those conditions, or if it doesn't help. You'll know best. But if you're not fighting something that is so, built into the wiring, uh, then trying this practice of disengaging the mind and letting it rest by focusing on something beneficial, quiet, and simple, that can help you master your mind. And it can give you, especially if you focus on your heart and what's in your heart or the feeling of your heart, that can over time build up a feeling of your own presence that becomes a kind of bedrock or floor for self-confidence. And it may not be like joy, but at least it's enough to feel centered and grounded. And that sometimes enough is more than enough. So this is my beginning talk on the mind. I hope you find it useful. Watch what your mind does throughout the day. Does it wander? When does it rest? Does it want to focus? Do you have to push it to focus? Just watch the play of how you relate with your mind and how your mind does its own thing without your even deciding to. And by just watching it, you can then start with this awareness of its activities. You can then start to make choices about what you want your mind to do and where you want it to focus. Enjoy your mind, that little golden race car computer.